Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the advisors and the small folk, just like the title says. And joining me today are Johnny B. Crazy and LMR, or Living My Rhapsody. So if you guys want to do a quick something about yourselves, go ahead, or sing the advisors and the small folk, just like the title. Oh, never mind. And we're gonna talk about that. But if you guys want to introduce yourselves, go ahead.
What's up, everybody? Johnny B. Crazy here. I just want to say thank you, Kenzie, for having me on. I'm excited to talk about all the little guys. No pun intended. LMR, my co-host. Thank you for being here with us. It's going to be a blast, and thank you to everyone in the chat for coming out. And you can find me at my channel, Johnny B. Crazy. Should be linked in there. Kenzie posted about 15 links.
Well said, my co-host. Chat, thank you for being here. All the friends are here. Kenzie, thank you for having me on your channel. Johnny, thank you for being my co-host for Westworld and for having me here, guys. It's gonna be a blast.
And yes.
Kenzie? Kenzie? And I think Kenzie's muted. Yep.
Oh, there we go. How we wanted to kind of format this stream today is talking about our three, I guess, power players heading into the final season, minus the Night King, of course. So we're going to talk about Daenerys and her advisors, then Jon and his advisors / team, and then end with Cersei. So the first person that we're going to talk about is Daenerys' most long-running advisor, and I guess Lord of the Friend Zone in his eyes. So we're going to talk about Jorah Mormont.
I can't stand you for that. Go ahead, Eleanor.
I'm trying to unmute. I'm trying to find a button here. So the awkward silence that you hear from me, it's me looking for a button here to talk. So Jorah. Damn, that poor Jorah. He is just getting, yeah. Actually, he's not getting anything. But a lot of conversations are around him. I don't know how much in detail we want to go, Kenzie.
Go however, like any prediction or like how you feel like his storyline would wrap up.
Okay. Well, I don't, for Jorah specifically, he would kind of going back to the story of his life. He sold his soul, I would say, for his first love or wife. Basically, he did something that he never thought he would do, and then he was punished for it, and he still lost his wife for that. So here we see Jorah doing everything possible to please his new love interest. He falls deep for them. I wonder. I don't see him surviving. I see him as maybe turning a little bit differently, because we see him as this puppy that will do anything and everything for his love. I would like for him to see that, like to basically open his eyes. And love is blind. I mean, yeah, love is blind to anything and everything. And it would be nice if he could actually get released from that, because all his life he was somebody's puppet, somebody's servant. I would like for him to do something different and not die for her. People are dying for her all over the place. I want there to be I want him to find different meaning in his life. I don't want him to be dying for her. Enough people died for her.
Yeah. Could I add to that? Like I
Please.
think you kind of make a point there where he has been a dog and he was treated by his wife badly, and he never saw what Daenerys did in the Field of Fire 2.0. And I think it's possible Jorah turns on Dany next season for sake of her possibly getting a little too fire happy. But I don't know. That's just like something that's I'm gonna throw out there. I don't know if that necessarily happened. I don't know if they have time for that on the show. It just all depends when they get to Winterfell, really.
Perfectly said. Yeah. All I hear is theories and speculations about him being this, dying for her finally. Like there's more to life than just going after somebody and you know blindly going somewhere. There's more to life, and people should have more. Um, I would say more on the radar as far as not just people, but a different purpose in life. He needs to find different purpose because he's been rejected way too many times, and he just needs to find something else that will make him happy. Not necessarily a woman or a guy, but some other calling, and just to stop begging for love because people should never beg to be loved. So I want him to get free from those chains. I want him to be like she's the chain breaker, whatever wheel breaker. He should do the same. He should take her advice and break those chains and just move on with his life. Kenzie?
Well said by the two of you. I think when it comes to Jorah, there will be this massive problem with him when he comes to the north with Daenerys, especially with Lyanna Mormont, as she knows a lot, I guess, from her mother what had happened with Jorah, because it's no secret, I guess. So especially his, I think it's her, like she is his cousin or something, will most definitely point out the flaw in their entire relationship, which is Daenerys claims that she's the breaker of chains and freer of slaves, yet her most trusted advisor happens to be a person who bought and sold slaves. So that'll be a huge thing for Leon Mormont and a whole bunch of people in the north. As well as I'm surprised that they didn't put 2 and 2 together with that in season 8 or season 7, sorry, and no one brought that up, especially like say Davos, like even though yes he was a smuggler and all of this other thing, that someone didn't point that out, that Jorah did something that Daenerys is sort of hailed as what am I trying to say? Hailed as like being a good person for when he did the complete opposite. Yes, he owns up to it, but there should be repercussions for it. As well, I also could see that if the magical baby is supposed to happen, that he is one of the people that Daenerys tells if they're together when she is having the magical baby and subsequently dying because of it, that she tells that he has to take care of the child like how she was taken care of by him in terms of like a fatherly protective role. And that's pretty much how I kind of see it, a bit of it playing out for Jorah anyway. Any other thoughts or comments before we move on?
Not really. I'm good.
I just to add to Jorah, I would not want him to turn evil just because he's been rejected all his life by his first wife. Well, not rejected, but tested and pulled in all directions. It would be sad to see him break and become somebody he basically like a shadow of himself. So I want him to basically be free of that burden, and hopefully Martin can deliver on it. But that would be kind of bitter because he would not get what he always wanted. He may not get that love that he wanted, but hopefully he'll find some peace somewhere else before, well, maybe dying. Because I
What
just
about
don't see
Mel?
him.
If she takes off her necklace and then Jorah can be with her forever.
You mean Mel? Mel?
Yeah, if she takes off the glamour.
That's actually an interesting twist. I don't know why she would have to take that glamour off for Jorah to be with him, but okay. Interesting point. What do you think about it since you mentioned it, Johnny?
About what?
No, no.
No, we got to segue to Mel later, but just kind of to end on Jorah, I think to keep him around to survive Greyscale scale and everything, for him just to die for Dany doesn't make literary sense or sense for the story. It's, well, not to me anyway. I'm not any kind of expert, but it just seems oversimplified if that's just the case. Wouldn't be Game of Thrones. Not to me.
Yeah, yeah. That's that will be sad. I don't want him doing that. But people want some people want him to die this glorious death, protecting his beloved. Oh, I'm thinking, please, people, come on, move on. There's more than one beloved. That can happen. He fell in love once. He can fall in love again. Well, before dying, by the end of season 8. Hint, hint. Lindsay?
So our next, I guess, two characters we could talk about, because they kind of go together, is Missandei and Grey Worm. Both people who had an intimate scene last season. And where they go in season 8, as they are now in a land that they do not understand, even though Missandei knows a lot about things. She doesn't really know a lot about Westeros. So, what do you guys think will happen with these two characters?
Can we go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I had an interesting thought yesterday, and we see in season 7 Missandei getting questioned a lot about if she could go home right then, she would be able to. And we notice Dany's just getting a little more intense with her power. Now, it could have been tamped down by what happened to Viserion. We've yet to see what's going to happen after the boat for the most part. So it's hard to say, but I could see a situation where Missandei and Grey Worm want to take off together to get away from the fighting, to go be safe together. Because Grey Worm made a big deal about him being afraid. The only thing he's ever been afraid of is losing her. So it would make sense to me that somehow they try to get away, and then Dany does something over the top, and that's when you get the whole drama start going down. I don't know. I could see something very interesting like that playing out with Missandei and Grey Worm. If they don't do anything of that nature, then I don't see why they played out that storyline. That makes sense.
It does make sense. It does. There for them, there's this scene where Missandei, actually, it's kind of, I guess, more in the book than in the show, that Missandei maybe that betrayal, possibly. And here, I think I saw a comment about it here. Yeah, here we go from J.R. Rowling. All show Missandei is the final betrayal. Again, George is good at many things, but kind of giving those twists and unexpected happening. This is not a love story. This is a story of chaos. This is a story of well, many things, but I see chaos in real life around those times, and very many twists. Life has so many twists. We can get a whiplash from that. So it's not any different over there. That stuff can happen too. So to see Missandei as this person who would do anything and everything for her savior, a person who basically saved her life, and from not just life from not dying, but life from misery, life of misery. And oftentimes, even though people experience good things, sometimes they turn on the ones who are their friends, and not because they meant it, but because just life happens, because things turned out differently. So for her to be in love and to forsake one love for her savior to go with her other love, Grey Worm, I can see that happening. This is a different kind of love and being thankful to Dany, and grateful, and basically love as a companion in her life for Grey Worm. So I see that happening, that she may actually do that. She may risk her life. She may betray this person who made it possible for her, to meet Grey Worm. And that's the tragic part of it. Like, what do we, like, things we do for love, like Jamie said. She may actually do the same thing, things we do for love. So I would love for them both to survive, but I see either one of them dying, or actually both of them dying. Yep. What about you, Kenzie?
I definitely, when talking about Missandei and I guess her future in the show at least, always harping back to when Jon and Davos have like a one-on-one conversation with her, like Johnny said, and they ask her, would you leave if, would Daenerys let you leave if you could? And she'd say like, yes, of course, like she would give me like anything that would like let me leave. Like she would say, she would give me a boat and let me leave. And then they go, are you sure? And she says, yes, of course. She doesn't waver in her response. But maybe, just maybe, we're speaking speculation here, she experiences something with Daenerys, say Grey Worm dying in a battle for Winterfell, and she wants to leave, go back to Essos, and she begs and pleads with Daenerys, let me go, there's nothing left for me here. You brought me to this place that with the person that I love the most in my life, and they're now gone, so there's nothing left for me here. You essentially are my slave master, even though you don't actually say it, kind of thing. And Daenerys won't let her leave. Like, I really see that she almost, like you said, Elamar, will have to leave herself and almost disassociate herself from Daenerys and prove that she is a strong-willed character and can do something for herself and not have or be Daenerys's like lapdog, and I guess also be, and also maybe even leave Daenerys having to say all of her titles by herself and be like be almost like a free woman, because even though she says that she is free, she's not technically free, being Daenerys's handmaiden slash somewhat of an advisor. So yeah, in terms of Grey Worm, I could see him either dying or surviving, but I do feel like the Unsullied, at least, will not fare well in the North because they're not prepared and they don't know how to fight in the North, or in any other terrain besides desert. So, or like dry land or warm countries or climate, sorry. So I do feel like he could die, but I also do feel, like you guys said, that he could potentially, if he survives and is one of the survivors of the Unsullied, leaves and flees maybe to Dorne or back to Essos. The next.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Could I add something real quick? Eduardo says she would never betray Daenerys, but what if she went to Daenerys and legitimately asked if she could leave with Grey Worm, and Daenerys said no? Do you think? I don't know. I could see something like that happening. I'm not saying it has to be crazy, but yeah, let's just go to the next part. But I see what you mean, Eduardo. She is very loyal, but it's been building up ever since the scene where they were bathing in the creek, I believe. And there has to be something that's going to happen there besides just them being killed by the Lannisters or the White Walkers. So
yeah, I agree with that. Okay, we know that she's been from somewhere, right? I mean, somewhere. She was taken from somewhere and was raised as a slave to blindly follow any directions, anything. She was just completely, at that point, emptied of her will. Like she had nothing. There was just whatever people said to her, she would obey. But just because she was brought up like this doesn't mean that she has to be scarred for life like that. So when she felt love and when she felt that connection with Grey Worm, I think that it changed her just because she was raised like that and doesn't know anything different or didn't know anything different. That one spark can completely change a person. So I believe that she would be able to leave, that she would be able to do something for herself. She's been doing things for others all her life. Um, she may not be successful at her plan, but there is this idea that we are not static, we are developing all the time, we're changing all the time. So I see her as taking different actions than just being a servant to her all her life and dying for that.
Well said. So the next person we're going to talk about is the Hand of the King, the Hand of the Queen, Tyrion Lannister. Where is he going in season 8 regarding these Daenerys and her storyline? Do you want me to go first, or?
Yeah, you can go ahead first, Kenzie.
In terms of Tyrion and Daenerys, well, there's a whole slew of things that are going to go on in season 8. We have, I guess, a potential confrontation about what an alliance means for Daenerys and Jon, and how he asked if there was, again, I'm bringing it up again, the magical baby, and it was to be a legitimate heir, they have to obviously marry, so Tyrion would have to bring it up, and they'd have to get married very quickly, and all of these things to make it happen, which I could see happening, but I don't think it would happen. But in terms of everything else, especially when they're in the north, I could see the Northern Lords having a problem with Tyrion, because the North is always skeptical of people in the South. And even though Tyrion wasn't rightly involved with Ned's death or rightly involved with Rob's death and Catelyn's death, I do feel like because he is part of the family that's been involved in a lot of deaths for the North, that there will be something for that, even though he can try and smooth things over. It's possible, but I do feel like there's something that is to play, and it's either involves the role of getting the Daenerys and Jon together and securing that alliance for not only himself but the safety of the realm, but as well as what happens because of that alliance slash what happens as a result, which could be the child. And I could see him being one of the people that helps raise this child to become a good ruler, if we're going to go down that route. If not, he would be a person that I could see still surviving the end of the series and being one of the lasting characters, in terms of who we leave this story with. What do you guys sort of think about Tyrion and his sort of advisement role in the story?
I'm about to have a loud drill in the background, so I'm just going to say something real quick that I thought about. What if Cersei ends up being pregnant and giving birth, and that's the baby Tyrion raises? Boom. I doubt it'll happen. But y'all talk for a second. I got some construction going on. Give me 5 minutes.
Sure.
That was a big wow. Like, okay, Cersei and raising her baby. Wow. Well, yeah, Tyrion said that he loves his family. He would do anything for his family. So I don't see why the baby, if there would be any baby from Cersei, if that baby should be punished for anything that the mother or father did. So definitely, the baby's just a baby. Babies are innocent. So I can completely see doing that if that were the case. But for him, I'm thinking more in terms of what that entire list of passages where people were threatening to cut his tongue out. I'm completely seeing that, and George may be trolling us, I guess, which is fine because at least we had points of conversation, like talking points about this, and speculating and saying, yeah, he will keep his tongue. No, he will not keep his tongue. But I see him as living, like surviving. I don't see him dying. I would hate for him to die. Um, well, he's one of my favorite. Well, he's on the top 3 characters. Let's just say this way at this moment. And if he were to die, a lot of that it wouldn't make sense to me. One of the reasons is I still think that if there is going to be this book written, like this entire story of whatever we've been watching for those 8 seasons, coming up next year, somebody has to write it. If I would like that to be one of the points that happens, that somebody sits down and writes it. Before in some previous streams, I was mentioning that I wanted that person to be Sam, Samuel Tarly, because he is all about books, stealing books, and just being a complete bookworm. But like I said before, Tyrion is the one who's been everywhere, who has been advisor to so many people, either formal advisor or just the person who talks sense into somebody. Or if he doesn't talk sense into somebody, he at least tries, and he sees all that. So, what better person to write it than Tyrion, who saw it with his own eyes? Some people say that it would be Bran, and Bran would say something to Dan, but technically Bran could write it himself if he wanted to. Could write anything and everything, but that's not the point. So I would like for Tyrion, I could see him as writing it and using his hands versus his tongue. And tongue, it's been his one of the biggest weapons, his brain, but the brain by itself cannot do stuff. It needs either something to write stuff with, what's on the brain, or tongue to speak what he wants to say. I see him as losing that tongue. That would be a lot of dramatic events happening. But I would like to see a payoff for that. I don't see why somebody without a tongue couldn't lead a life that would be fine. There are people with disabilities everywhere, and just by not having a certain whatever that somebody else has, it doesn't make their lives any more less meaningful, or doesn't take away from possibility of life being fulfilling. So I would like to see that happen, not because I wish him, he's my favorite character. I don't wish him ill or anything, but I know he is the one who could actually pull through, and if that were to happen to him, he could make it, and he could make his life meaningful. That would not deter him from having a happy life. So I see that as that happening. And which side he would choose at this point, like I don't even know which side I would choose. So I don't expect the character to pick it for the character. I would say more he would choose whatever good side was on according to his thoughts at that moment. I would see him following his heart, whichever it led, or wherever it led. Johnny, are you good over there?
Kind of. I think they might start drilling again, but I was gonna say, as far as him losing his tongue, I can kind of see that. Ilan Payne kind of was foreshadowed, in my opinion. If you could use that as a foreshadowing event, I mean, the Mad King did cut out his tongue for boasting that Tywin Lannister was really the king. So I could see that possibly happening, especially, let's say, Tyrion stands out and openly speaks out against Dany in front of people in Winterfell, possibly, or stands up for the Tarleys. When that goes down, I could see something like that happening, but it would, I don't know, take an interesting set of events. But yeah, I could see that happening. As far as the writing, I think, yeah, him and Sam, mostly Sam, but I would think both of them, because you need more than one person to rewrite everything in history, because I do think the Citadel will burn. But, that's for another time.
In terms of Tyrion and writing the book or being part of the book, absolutely. Well, because he told John on the way to the wall that what is it? A mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone. So he's all been about books and writing books and all of that. So I can definitely see him, at least in the involvement of writing what is the history that is being written right now, and how this time in their lives, I guess, goes down if he is to live. And I do feel like that would be a very interesting parallel of him losing his tongue, like Johnny had said, if he does speak out against Daenerys, in terms of either if it is the Tarleys or it's the Norse, or even saying that this may be tinfoil here, but if he talks about how maybe that they should use John as leverage against Cersei, saying that you have the person that is the actual heir that is going to be the one who sits on the throne, maybe, that he may say something about John and his legitimacy, and that may be a part of what angers her. I don't know. We're still speculating here. But I do feel Tyrion is part of the end game, and his story isn't finished when the credits rolled. That he's going to live past everybody who we expect is going to die.
Can I just say this?
Yep.
If everyone thinks it's gonna be clear and cut and dry, as Dany is good, Cersei is bad, and Jon is brooding, and there's a baby. No, I don't see that. There's no way that it's gonna go down like that. It's gonna be way more complicated. I know the fight for the dead's gonna happen, but it could be over by episode 3 or 4, or the beginning of episode 4, and then we're gonna see politics. They're not gonna wipe out everything, but they're gonna wipe out a lot, and there's gonna be an interesting game played. That's why I think the Night King's gonna spread out his forces, in my opinion. We'll get into that later. I don't think he's just going straight for Winterfell, and that's it. I think he's going straight for everywhere that possibly has anything to do with the children of the forest, as far as I'm concerned. And basically going to spread. I mean, the last long night went all the way down to Dorne, right around Starfall. So I don't see why this long night would be any different unless they change it up. But I'm getting off topic. Go ahead.
So I guess our next character is Varys. And Varys is, I guess, new to Team Daenerys officially anyways. A quick thought from me about Varys is I could see him endorsing Jon once he is found out of being the last living son of Rhaegar, the crown prince of Dragonstone, and rightful heir to the Seven Kingdoms, because of the book involvement of him and I believe Aegon, or the Aegon in the books, which would be, again, another contender for the ultimate betrayal of Daenerys, as she did say that if he had betrayed her, that he would burn him alive. And Melisandre did say that that Varys would die in Westeros, so it could be by dragonfire. Who knows? But I do feel like Varys has some other agenda. He doesn't follow anybody with blind loyalty, like he had said in last season. So, and if he has somebody else who fits his agenda more, like the legitimate last son of Rhaegar, it could be where he sways on one last time, because we know he likes to flip-flop depending on like Baelish, whoever is the better option almost. What do you guys think about Varys?
I see him as dying by fire. Thanks. I see him as dying by fire. At least something has to be paid off, like some kind of threat, and him switching from one king to the other, and then to the queen now. I don't see him as being loyal to one person. Like he said, he's not. Whatever his words were.
Loyal to the realm.
There you go. Thank you, my co-host.
And I have a theory, but go ahead.
Cool. So yeah, I see him as being loyal to the crown, and Dany would see that as betrayal, because Dany is not for the realm; she is for herself. Even though she says she's for the people, but she's kind of blind. She's kind of blind. I think she means well, but just meaning well, it's not the same thing as doing well or her actions being good, as we can see. So I see her as making that mistake again and again, rationalizing it by saying, yeah, she thought about it. But just because she's sure about something doesn't mean that it's a well thought out approach or decision. So I see her doing the thing that she did it and burning him, maybe for the right reasons. Although, yeah, I see him as being very much dead by fire after betraying her.
Yeah, I agree with that, but the blue flame is what gets me. And Viserion has a blue flame. And I'm trying to put together in my mind how that could happen. I know, I'm almost positive Varys is going to back Jon, unless he thinks Cersei is going to win. But he will back Jon. Well, he can't go back to Cersei. He's going to back Jon, period. That's going to be this big conflict. We're going to have an amazing conflict politically. It might not even get bloody to the sense, but we're going to have a lot of tension there, and they have a lot to work with. There's so much tension in the north. There's so much tension between everyone that it's impossible for it to be some type of fairy tale when they get there. Perhaps they're going to be attacked right when they get there. But it almost seems like to me that the Night King can make it to Winterfell before they ever get back from King's Landing. And I see, didn't Varys, he went off on another mission, correct? Anybody?
I was just looking for the button. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So yeah, that's yeah. What do you mean another mission? Like when?
Like he went off on his own somewhere. If I'm
in
not
the series
mistaken.
or in the book?
In the series, he's not on the boat with Dany and Jon, right? I don't think he is.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's somewhere doing something.
Maybe getting more info. Maybe he heard something about Jon or whoever.
Or the Golden Company, possibly.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Could definitely see him doing that. I don't know about it being revealed him being a Blackfire, but I definitely think he's a Blackfire or some type of Valyrian or Targ bastard in the books. It's very hinted at. Yeah, I'll just kind of leave it at there because I don't know really. The blue flames make me think he's going to get killed by Viserion. But I don't know how it could happen to where it would be cool, and I couldn't really say yet. I'll just leave it at that. But I do think Varys is going to betray Dany, so to speak, but it's going to be for the good of the realm. And I think him and Tyrion are both going to do it together. They've already been talking that they can't let her become her father. And, what didn't Varys say? We won't let her become her father. So he'll do anything to stop that. And that's going to, it's going to play in so huge. So much politics.
Yeah. Do you think, I know we're talking about not the main characters, but do you think somebody, speaking of Varys, that somebody would actually try to stab Dany in her back? I mean, making sure that she doesn't become her father. And to do that, you either have to make sure she doesn't turn evil, or get her out of the way before she turns completely crazy. But just a question, general question.
Can I bring up a comment from Marie in the chat? She wants to know, but will Arya remember Varys from when she was inside Balerion the Dread's mouth, and him and Illyrio when she was chasing the cat? Remember the one-eyed Tom?
Oh yeah, I see her as remember. I don't see the reason why not, because she saw him clearly. I mean, maybe not the face exactly, but the way he moved, the way his body was, it was described really well. So, and
His
she's very
voice.
perceptive. Yes, that too. Yeah, and it was dark over there. But their faces were illuminated by the torches that they had. So, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually could recognize him if need be.
Yeah, I feel like to wrap up Varys, I do feel like there's something involved with him dying and it being about flames, especially blue flames. But the next person that we're going to discuss is Melisandre, the one who told him that he's going to be dying in Westeros. And we know that she kind of, again, is a one who's a flip-flopper in terms of who she follows. She kind of is the in-between between Daenerys and Jon. So we kind of put her in this position here. So what happens to Mel in season 8 / the end of the story? Do you want me to go first, or?
Go ahead, please.
So in terms of Mel, I don't think that we will see her, at least when we first see her in season 8, we will see her probably as an old woman if we are to expect her to have followed Jon and company, including Daenerys and her company, to Winterfell. She will be the old lady, or a old lady, like we saw in the premiere episode of season 6, unless we do see her go as a solo scene in a separate area, like she said, a Shy or wherever she was going in season 7. We could see her there as she looks right now, but I do feel like we will see her as an old woman in season 8, and we have to have the payoff scene with Mel and Arya, as Mel did tell her that she would shut eyes forever, and brown eyes, blue eyes, and then green eyes, I believe, because we have to have that scene pay off. And we may have a scene where Arya is conflicted about her feelings about Melisandre and having to kill her, as Jon could easily tell Arya that he's only alive because of Davos and Melisandre. So it'll be one of those kinds of situations.
Right. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, I was finished.
Okay. Yeah, Mel is interesting because she knows she's gonna die, so she's gonna have to bring a replacement, right? Ooh, Makoro would be awesome to enter at the beginning of the season with the fiery hand. That would be some awesome stuff, but that's probably super fan fiction on my part, just because I love the books. And Makoro is just a crazy character from the books. If you don't know him, with the he's got tattooed flames all over his face, carries a dragon staff that shoots green flames out the end of it. It's pretty interesting. But that could be something that Varys gets tied in with as well. Maybe he's going to have to be the possible sacrifice. A Nisa, so to speak. I don't mean like literally, but we know that things are going to have to happen, and Mel is pretty crazy, and she's going to do anything she can to defeat the Night King, or the Great Other, or whatever she calls in the show. I can't remember. And I see her knowing she's going to die, so we possibly could see another priest introduced, because we know they're so fervent on converting Westeros, especially at this point. And if they can come in and save Westeros, they have a chance to become the predominant religion. I also see conflict coming from that as well, because they're not just saving Westeros. They're seizing an opportunity to spread their religion, if that makes sense. Anyone want to comment on that?
I was kind of stuck in the chat too a little bit with different points.
You want me to
For
repeat it?
no, that's okay. No, I was actually going to add something to it as a twist to how Mel could end up. This shocked me a little bit when I read it in the comments. That's why I'm like still like reading like if it actually I read it correctly. I don't know if you saw it, guys, but Eduardo mentions that he thinks that she will die by ice. And then when I asked him in the chat, like, how and what do you mean? Basically, somehow frozen somehow by Night King or cold exposure. So,
well, if her glamour comes off, she could definitely be
yeah.
affected without her glamour. So possibly if he gets close enough, that glamour, the ruby could shatter. That's a good point.
Yeah. I wanted her to die by fire because she's been given that gift of death. And Marie's in the chat, and we long time ago, like a while ago, Marie explained to me that and I said, oh, I wouldn't want to die by fire, but then I said, oh, I want, if anything over there or then I would prefer to have a quick execution, like the head chopped off or something with something sharp. And Marie brought something interesting to me, that we live for a little longer than we thought after that is, or we feel and experience stuff. So I freaked out, and I guess I would take fire. If it was hot enough and quick enough, maybe I would take neither, if possible. So for Mel to die, and I mean, I'm saying it as a, there's no other choice. Yeah, she has to die. Um, she looked tired. Let's just say this way: when she took that glamour off, she looked tired. Um, I don't know why she took it off. She could have stayed nice and cozy and kept it on. But for some reason, I don't know, there's a reason why she has to take it off from time to time. And that's when she experiences the entire life being heavy on her. And that is not a good way to live. Maybe she would want the gift of death. And who knows, maybe she would choose the death by fire. It would be disappointing if she couldn't get that, though. Maybe that would be, we see it as something like a revenge for her dying. But there are people who've done crazier things here in our world, or probably even over there, for their faith or beliefs, maybe. So I see her as wanting that death, if any death that I mean, everybody is gonna die over there at some point eventually. So death is the purest, whatever she called it, form of death, or however she phrased it. So I would see her wanting to die by fire. And what a twist it would be, like Eduardo said, if she actually couldn't get what she wanted, if she actually died by ice. That would be tragic. Yeah. What are your thoughts, guys, about like the Kenzie, especially you? I don't think you mentioned anything about that either. What about her dying by ice? What Eduardo said.
By ice would be a very interesting like I guess comparison or contrast, sorry, to her, I guess, what she believes in and how she believes in R'hllor, the fire god, and all of this other thing, and how she's able to conjure up not fire, but like able to like bring back certain people from the fire god. So for her to be killed by the, I guess, opposite thing or opposite belief would be and be sort of like almost like we all expect her to blow up in flames, like literal like fire flames, but it could be ice flames, say from Viserion, or maybe even if this is tinfoil here, but if they were able to bring ice back together of this Valyrian steel sword ice, she could be killed that way as well. It's just a very interesting contrast of the two elements.
Can I
Done.
say something to add to your point? I think you'll be able to run with this, because remember, she always says fire is the sweetest death is by fire. So I don't. She doesn't deserve that sweet death from all of the sin she has caused. She even thinks so herself. So I really do like the ice theory in a sense. It could either be a metaphor or literal as far as the others are concerned. Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up. What do you think about that? Because she always thinks that fire is the purest death. I don't think she's going to get the death she wants, right?
She probably won't get the death that she wants, unless ice is that she freezes to death, which would be a very interesting death because I don't think many people, or at least they haven't personified a main or named character to die by cold. So it'd be very interesting, especially if when we see her again, it's as old lady form, um, which is very possible. Uh, but yeah, we unless Elamar wants to say something, we'll move on to Team John and I guess his hand of the king.
No, all good. Everything has been said. Ice, fire, and not getting what people want as far as the death. And there was actually a quote. I'm gonna quote it quickly. So I
William
guess I did.
Blake?
Sorry.
Is it the Blake? Or
It was from Al saying, "Never choose the
oh,
way to die. Choose the way to live." So perfectly said.
oh
Perfectly said.
yes, yes.
So our next team that we're going to move to is John and his hand of the king being Davos. And I thought that talking about Davos right after Melisandre was a very interesting way to format this. So, what do we think about Mr. Seaworth or the Onion Knight and his involvement with John, with Mel, and that storyline? I can go first, I guess. Um, Davos is a very, I guess, interesting character, so to speak. He knows things but doesn't know everything. He was the hand of the king to Stannis, and now he's the hand of the king to the rightful king, um, which is very like a very interesting way he's going to be ending his story. I do feel like Davos is going to withstand the credits roll of season 8. He deserves to live. He's lived a long life. He commented on it in season 7, episode 5, when he brings back Gendry, and Gendry and John meet for the first time, and he's talking about I live to a ripe old age kind of comment. So I do feel like he will see past this story arc and story. He's going to be advising John on certain things, of course, with in terms of how he can control men, because even though John knows he knows men, he doesn't know like a lot of the politics because he wasn't even though he was raised as a lord's son, he was raised as a bastard, so he wasn't, I guess, necessarily prepared to rule over a bunch of people or a bunch of land. So maybe Davos is able to help him in sort of that from what he learned from Stannis. But Johnny has a very interesting theory involving what happens with the magical baby if that baby is to come to fruition. I can let Johnny speak about that because it was his thought.
Yeah. I'd be crazy, and I'm gonna bring a little humor to this one. Davos will raise that baby, in my opinion, if there is a baby to raise that's not Cersei's baby. Because if it's Cersei's baby, then I think Tyrion will raise it. But that's just getting on it. Why can't we have 2 babies? Well, we have a magical baby. Davos's nubs can be 5 different pacifiers. The baby will love Davos. He's a natural. And honestly, I think it's foreshadowed by Davos losing his sons. I know he has a family elsewhere, but they the whole show tend to have forgot about the family. And I know that he always talks about losing his son. So that's why I see Davos raising the magical baby. Yes, and he has built-in pacifiers.
Um,
I was trying not. Well, no, I was laughing when I was looking for the button. Well, on that note, Johnny, I would say that Davos would be selling those fermented crabs along with Tyrion, who's selling the Imp's Delight, and they open up a restaurant. And Patrick is going to give out lessons to whoever needs lessons in some stuff. But on a serious note, for Jorah, not for Jorah, for Davos, yeah, he needs to live. I mean, there needs to be some happiness, some silliness. It can't be. I mean, obviously, it can be in real life, but maybe since this is fantasy, not history, um, advanced fantasy lessons, somebody with good humor has to survive. And there are a couple characters over there. And if I had to pick one, I would, from all the funny characters who bring laughter, not just smile, but actually true laughter. That because when you smile, you may smile really with sadness, right? You smile, something is nice, and whatever. You may smile, and you may be still sad but happy, like sad happy. When you laugh at something, when you completely forget where you are, like nothing else exists, that's actually true escape. And there needs to be, after that war, after whatever happens, there has to be somebody who can, obviously he won't be going from town to town making people laugh, but for us to see that there is this silliness, there's this wittiness that survives, and by laughing at his joke or something, you can forget where you are, you can forget what happened, and for that little moment there is hope, because you can move on. There's a chance to move on from all the sadness of the death and destruction that followed. So yeah, if I had to choose, I would want him to survive. I'm thinking him as the survivor. So yeah, Team Davos.
I guess one final comment on Davos before we move forward is that Davos is the fun uncle for Jon, pretty much like the father type figure, the fun uncle. So for Davos to be one of the people that raises the magical baby would kind of fulfill the protective aspect that he felt over Shireen, because of, even though Shireen's death resulted in Jon, if we believe it, coming back, I feel like Davos could really protect this child, especially from if Mel, um, if Mel is to survive after, after say Jon or Dany are to die. I feel like Davos would be very protective of this child, even if they both survive. He would be the person and the fun uncle slash, almost in that sense as well, like the grandpa, the fun grandpa of everything. But yeah, the next person slash, I guess, group we can talk about is Tormund, and how Tormund, even though he's separated from Jon at this moment, how his, I guess, teachings and lessons towards Jon will affect him now, and moving forward, in terms of him being a king and everything, and such. Johnny?
Yeah, I'll take that. Well, I mean, Tormund knows Jon and knows Jon well, and knows Jon can never be a kneeler again. He's one of them now. And that's something you're going to have to remember going into this season. He still hasn't knelt. He still hasn't bent the knee, not formally. And that's a big deal in that custom. Just saying. I know he didn't have a chance to, technically. While he was in bed, he could have been a little too hurt or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. But he had a couple of chances to actually bend the knee after he said it, and he didn't. I think that was very interesting. Tormund, as far as I'm concerned, is either doomed to save Brienne, like a love he can never have, because it doesn't seem like the feeling is mutual between him and Brienne. But I don't know. It's hard to read Brienne sometimes. She acted that way towards Jaime as well, but still ended up liking him. I know everybody sees Brienne and Jaime together, but I don't see Jaime living. I just don't, unfortunately. His fate's bound with Cersei's, in my opinion. I don't know that he's the person that's going to necessarily kill her. If history does repeat itself, he would be, but we'll talk about that later. Tormund, unfortunately, I see him dying next season, but now that I think about it, it would make more sense for him to live. He's basically the leader of the free folk. And what other free folk do we know of besides Tormund? Do we really know anymore? Am I making sense here?
They're like
I feel like he could live possibly, but it would be a long shot. What do you guys think?
For I'll just say this quickly. I think Tormund would be our last, I guess, connection to the wildlings, unless they decide in the last season to be like, you're gonna take over for Tormund when he dies or whatever. So I feel like at least they would have him as an established connection with the North. But he could die, and then his lessons, I guess, about life are like connected with Mance Rayder, about how being a kneeler is, after knowing Mance and everything, makes no sense. And even Tormund had told him, he's like, who do you have to convince about the stupid White Walkers? Is it Daenerys or is it Cersei? So he provides also comedic reliefs and as well as advice. So Tormund kind of has to live in my book, but I could also see him being an easy person to be killed off. What about you, Elamar?
So, like Johnny mentioned too, Torment and Brienne and Jaime and Brienne. Okay, so again, we're talking about Tormund, but Tormund has connections and he's like a spider web of relations there. So he is in love, or whatever you call it, love or affection for, and complete actually adoration for Brienne, right?
Wanderlust.
Yeah, exactly. And for him, he just saw her and boom, he knew like she is gorgeous. I mean, beauty in the eye of the beholder. I'm not saying she's not, but in the book, she's not supposed to be this beautiful as she is on the show. So he finds her
Gwendolyn Christie's a good-looking woman.
She is, yeah,
really,
yeah,
really tall and a
yeah,
big woman in stature, but she's beautiful, in my
yeah,
opinion.
exactly. So, so he finds her, just he adores her for many reasons, for her beauty on the outside, her obviously being everything that's character, and she's just great fighter and everything, and he basically falls in love with her right away. And versus Jaime, who has to see her for who she is before he sees her beauty, which is maybe it doesn't. I'm saying it's a deeper beauty when you actually find somebody, or discover that person after being friends with them. Whereas, like for Tormund, he jumps in right away. Whatever it is, and he's completely head over heels for her. So, for Jaime, yeah, different. This is a different stream for that, but I don't see him surviving. Well, see him and then don't see him. I see him as somewhere else having a more important role, but also dying in the arms of Brienne. So it would be interesting to see that Tormund would have a chance. Yeah, go ahead.
Everyone is like Jaime or freaking Jorah, the 1000th Lord Commander. What about Tormund? We are the White Night's Watch now.
What do you mean by that? I mean, I remember him saying that. Where are you going?
Like, what if he's the Lord Commander? I know he wouldn't give up anything, but I don't know if there'll be a wall anymore after this. But we'll see. I don't think they can completely get rid of the Whites because of the baby thing. So they're like a species of people at least in the books. It just gets weird in the show when you get into that hive mind thing and how they.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah.
So yeah, with that, exactly. Like, what if maybe not the Night's Watch, but some kind of order doing something somewhere, and he would be the one in charge of whatever it is that they're doing. It's not like they're gonna live. I'm still hoping for things to turn out well. That we won't just see a bunch of um what do you call it, undead people standing like drones, and like for 10 minutes the credits roll and we can see, but just like every, like, them standing like in the vision that Brent had. That would be horrible. Like everybody just stands there for 5 or 10 minutes not moving. I would be, yeah, I would want to wake up from that nightmare. So there has to be something good coming from it, because the possibility of a different ending is just insane to me. And I'm not saying I want there to be a happy ending where everybody lives. I want to see what kind of reality in this fantasy or possibility of how things could turn out. But what if he is actually the one who does this stuff, who does the, being in charge, um, taking the initiative to be the leader of that organized group of people who do something, whatever it is that needs to be done, to protect, either to bring order to the people, because not everybody will be happy and everybody will live happily ever after. There's going to be chaos. People are going to be trying to murder other people for stuff. What if there's a lack of food or things like that, to bring order to all this? People react differently to war, so he may find himself in that situation where there is a responsibility given to him. And he had great mentors too. Maybe they were not his direct mentors, but he saw everything, how he saw how things are done. So I'm sure he learned from it too.
Well said. So, yeah, for Tormund, I feel like he could be a leader of some people, like the Night's Watch, if it is to not devolve into chaos. But as well, he kind of made sure that the wildlings followed John in the first place a little bit when John needed men at the most vulnerable point. So he would automatically have them follow him, especially after saying that John had died and come back to life. The next person that we want to talk about is the feisty 11/12-year-old Lyanna Mormont, and pretty much the rest of the North, but I kind of wanted to focus on Lyanna Mormont because she has, I guess, an effect on John that no one else besides his siblings has an effect on, like, in terms of John listening to someone who's so much younger than him and taking what she kind of says to heart, as she was the first person to call him the king in the North, pretty much. Like, she said, he's my king from this day until his last day, pretty much. So she's a feisty little girl, and what do you guys think that she can possibly do in season 8?
Well, that actually made me think of something. We got Jorah that's coming back there. One of two things are going to happen. I know at first she's going to despise him, but what if she wins Jorah over and somehow, in the end, Jorah's redemption is he gets reinstated back into his house? And in order for this to happen, possibly this is when the Dany betrayal happens. I'll talk a little bit more about Lyanna Mormont. I just wanted to get that thought out before I forgot. Yeah, she's going to play a big role, mainly politically, especially when Jon and Dany get back. She's going to drive she's going to be the point of opposition, I'm sure. She does back Jon, but, bringing the Targaryen queen up there with the dragons, with everything that's happened, I don't believe Brandon and Sam haven't really told anyone yet, or we haven't seen them telling that the Night King is coming or whatever. So I could see it playing out some interesting ways, but she's she's gonna live, and I believe she's gonna be part of the future realm that is to come. She is what is needed, in my opinion, as far as character. Um, yeah, that's about all I got to add to that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So that feisty little Lyanna Mormont, her just if she died, that would be such a waste of character. I mean, sure they could make a point like they killed Marjorie, right? Like, yeah, just kill her off and shock everybody. But we've been shocked so much, we're kind of numb. So we need a different kind of shocker. They already did one of the Marjorie deaths, so of a character who we thought is gonna be here and gonna do this, and she has a plan, and she handed the rose that she's still there, and then boom, and then she's gone. Like, oh, okay. um so no, I don't want there to be another Marjorie incident. um Again, what I want and what's going to happen, obviously not the same thing, but if I had choice, I would want her to survive. I see her surviving, and just like new approach to life, maybe. Since I'm seeing a lot of death over there, there's going to be a lot of death. So many people are going to die. So, and when there's this talk about the order that changes different, how people will be ruled differently, the whole class setup. What if the idea is that women over there on the islands are, I mean, it's okay for them to be powerful or have something to say and be proud of it. That could spread. That could make a big, big change as far as um, who will keep their, who will be the ruler, who actually gets to inherit stuff. So I see her as part of that movement. I see a lot of, even though those are not the words, but a lot of duty, that she will do everything possible. She may actually um, form alliances. Not that they're going to be needed. Maybe there won't be a class like this. Maybe everything will start over, and whoever was a king, queen, or royalty or noble person, they may not be important. That may not be important anymore. But just because she has that bloodline, doesn't make her any less, or meaning, line like this. True bloods are may be thought of as, yeah, let's not do that because you were in power, but she has those roots, she has that history of her family, but she's also a great person. It's not like she doesn't deserve where she's at. She is strong, she is opinionated in a good way. So I see her as surviving. um I would like her to survive and continue. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like they would pull another Shireen type of death situation for Lyanna Mormont because they've already killed the one girl by fire. If they do have Daenerys kill Lyanna Mormont, I bet a lot of people, because a lot of people love Lyanna Mormont, because she is very sassy and she is very opinionated in her thoughts and beliefs, that if Daenerys was to kill Lyanna Mormont based on the fact that she says, I don't follow you, I won't follow you, you're not like, your dad may have been the king, but that doesn't mean anything to me. You have to show me and you have to make me believe that you have the rightful bloodline and you have the rightful name to claim this seat, and the North doesn't want you here, like, kind of thing. Like, the North didn't need you, the North doesn't really want you, really. They only needed you for your army, kind of thing. So I don't feel like Lyanna Mormont would die, but I could see it, that it's a conflict with Daenerys that she may have to deal with Lyanna Mormont. But it'll be one of those things. I feel like she'll probably be on the side of this, take her stance like she did in season 7 with Jon, saying that, like, you're the only one that I follow. Like, she told Stannis, no, Bear Island knows no king but the king in the north, whose name is Stark. So she'd probably say that again and again and again until the end of time. Next person we can talk about is Sam, John's buddy since the Night's Watch. And will Sam reveal to John about his parentage and other things?
Yeah. You want me to go?
Sure.
Well, I've said this once, I'll say it again. Sam the Slayer will somehow slay the Night King in a clumsy fashion. He's going to trip over a root and stab him with a Valyrian with a Heartsbane. Now, I do think something's up with that. Everyone thinks someone else is going to wield Heartsbane. I feel like something's going to happen. Sam's going to have to struggle to get it, and then he's going to save the day. But I doubt it. But I think it's going to have something to do with the downfall of the Night King, as well as a few others. We haven't got into Cersei's advisors yet, but I think not Cersei's, but would that be Cersei's or Jaime's advisor? Anyways, we'll talk about Bronn in a minute, but I think it's going to be a group effort to take down the Night King, and I think Sam's going to definitely be a part of it, especially just the foreshadowing of him accidentally being brave, but he's not accidentally brave. He's very courageous because he's scared and he still does brave acts. That's what makes you brave or courageous. I can't remember the exact term. But in the end, I believe Sam, yes, is going to write the books. The Citadel is more than likely going to be in shambles, and he and Tyrion are going to be the ones with most of the knowledge and have to put everything back together as far as knowledge is concerned. That's what I think.
Alamar?
So sorry, looking for that button. Too many tabs open. Okay, so we're talking Sam, right? Lovely Sam, who has a problem with taking stuff that doesn't belong to him and sneaking around the corner and doing stuff like, oh yeah, I just did this. Yeah, I'm just doing, scraping off some stuff off of this dude, or I'm just taking this book. I'm gonna borrow it indefinitely. Oh, that's a shiny sword. I'll take it. Technically, it's mine. So that that happening. I mean, obviously there may be no reason for that, but they're playing him, or they're making him to go on this I guess route that will take him to like accidentally doing something. I can completely see that happening, although I know they would not make it into that kind of a joke, because if they made Night's King's death a joke, I don't know if I would cry from laughter or cry because all those 8 seasons pointed to, Night King tripping on a stone and falling.
Right onto Sam's blade as he's holding it, scared.
Exactly.
Oh,
my
no.
Lord.
John, can you help me, John?
Yeah, yeah, that would be very, very bad. I think that would be the worst death. I mean, technically, he would be dead. Dead is dead, unless there's not dead. Yeah, but let's not. Hopefully, Sam won't do something stupid like that.
I had
But
to bring some humor into it. I do
yeah,
think he's going to play a part, though, in killing the Night King, because I don't think it's going to be a one-on-one battle. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're completely right. I mean, things are never done just by one person. We are all part of this system that, one person moves, the other person is affected by that move or movement. So I see them as in Sam and somebody else, whoever that may be, playing that role in defeating the Night King somehow. Him and reading all those books. And it's been stressed that, yes, Sam read all those books, like John says, and to Maester Aemon that he's read all of that, and he was just stuck on those scrolls and reading. So that knowledge has to be for something. I see him as I don't see him as like dying. I don't think he will die. Again, that would be a very, very sad death. And how much sadness can there has to be at least a little, like a, balance, I think. So yeah, too much death. He he would survive, I think, but he wouldn't survive in a way that he would be completely happy for whatever reason. I think if he loses somebody, I don't know, maybe baby Sam or Gilly or something happens, I see him as being the survivor but with scars. Everybody's gonna have a big scar somewhere, either on their heart, literally, or figuratively. They will all be hurting and somehow. But I see them as still. I see him still living through it.
Can I ask you, just throw in there what you think is going to happen with baby Sam while we're on it?
Baby Sam is gonna go back to his family of White Walkers. No, I mean they're his blood. From what I think, from what I've heard of different theories. So maybe this, um, it will be horrible. Maybe that's why they're aging him so much. I'm hoping that because when it's difficult, we've seen babies, I guess, being sacrificed. I mean, not sacrificed, die over there, and there's a sacrifice. But we kind of grown to love that little baby who's not so little anymore, and they're aging him up for many reasons. Maybe they want to age him up to be killable. I guess it would be sad. Yeah, I haven't thought about that much more, but just the idea of him being so everywhere and almost every scene where Gilly is, there's always this baby. They're aging him up. They're getting him ready for something.
My big point, I guess, with Sam is, when will Sam find out about his father and brother's death? I think I spoke about this with Johnny at one point, but it will probably be his mother maybe going to, like, sending a raven at one point, telling him, like, that it had happened, unless he finds out on the road about that his father has died, and his brother has died, so now he is Lord of Hornhill, and that could be what what Sam maybe is weary about Daenerys. Like, you have fallen for this person, as we're led to believe, that has killed my family members after I have risked my own life to save her advisor. Like, he would probably be a very pissed at John that he kind of, even though Daenerys is a good person in the eyes of John and a lot of people, she has done something to kill a leader of a pretty major house and the heir to a pretty major house, but the subsequent heir risked his life for her, like the person that risked everything for the advisor. So I feel like Sam may be a bit angry, confused, frustrated at John that he, like, blindly follows Daenerys, and maybe a little bit angry at him, at least for an episode or two, until, I guess, Daenerys proves that what she did was a good thing. But yeah, that's my, like, little piece on Sam, is that Sam will have to find out about what the fate of his father and brother, and that Sam may be confused but may understand eventually regarding what happened. But he's going to be frustrated that he risked his life for her advisor, yet she couldn't at least save them, or at least be somewhat lenient. But yeah, enough about my thoughts. If anybody has any other thoughts about Sam, if not, we can move on to Cersei and her advisors.
We can move on to Cersei, unless Johnny wants to say something.
Well, I'll just say I think that Sam might be torn, but I don't know if he'll be the catalyst for that. I mean, I kind of agree with you, but I kind of don't, because I think Bran will creepily tell him it doesn't matter, that this and that has to happen or something. I don't know. Creepy Bran will do something. That's just my only point. I don't know. That's my thought.
So for Team Cersei, we have Qyburn as her, I guess, main advisor at this point, because why not? Qyburn, in my opinion, will be as crazy as always, up to whatever the heck he likes to do, which is playing with dead bodies and bringing people back to life. And the thought of a lot of dead people coming towards him probably really excites him. So, yeah, I do feel like he will probably tell her that the Golden Company isn't showing up and that they have done something like switch sides, which I can talk about near the end because it's a part of my next video. But I do feel like Qyburn's have limited involvement. He'll probably be involved with her either delivering her and Jamie's fourth child, or involved in the miscarriage, but won't have too much involvement, as Cersei will maybe disregard even his opinion after a while. Any other thoughts about Qyburn and such?
Yeah, go ahead, Johnny.
Go ahead.
So Qyburn, I see him as I see him dying, and what he finds life and death fascinating. So I see him when he dies, whatever he dies of or whatever kills him. Hopefully something, not a person, but basically some kind of undead thing. I see his last words as being staring at whoever is doing it to him, or making him basically die, and saying something like, "Oh, interesting, fascinating," kind of still studying, because he wants to study. He wants to maybe power or whatever he wants, but he wanted to study the life and death, and him being in that position of actually dying at that moment. I think he may find it fascinating. But yeah, I see him as dead, very much dead. I'm not sure by whom though. So many people would want him dead. Not as many as for others, but yeah, he messed up a lot of people. And then just by bringing about the mountain, yeah, he messed up even more people. So he probably will die, and I want him to be fascinated by the process that yeah, he is dying. Like at this moment, he's experiencing it.
Well, Qyburn. Well, I see him playing enough of a role to cause some havoc. His ultimate death, I think it's going to be Arya. And Arya's going to try to use his face to kill the mountain. It's not going to work out right. Or Cersei. One of the two. I think that would be the face that Arya would use. She can't use Littlefinger's face, because Cersei already knows Littlefinger betrayed her. And I don't know, but she would have to get to Qyburn, so I'm not sure. As far as Qyburn's endgame, he's going to do something with that white hand. I believe he's going to actually try to transform or do something to Alaria Sand in the dungeons. I don't think we've seen necessarily we might see some kind of different creature come out of there. I don't know if we'll see the same actress or anything, or just a different creature in period that he's been working on since he's studied. He had the hand, and he possibly studied the body. We don't know if they even took the body back with them. I'm not sure. I know they burned it, but there would still be some tissue for him to study or take a sample of, I believe. knowing his sneaky ass, I would think he's gonna have some creepy something planned. But I can't put my finger on it. But I just have this feeling that Arya is gonna kill him. I don't know why.
I wanted to add something from the comments. Eduardo Blanco says Qyburn will be killed by his creature. Literature classic. I can see that happening too. I can see everything. I'm like Bran. I can see anything and everything happening all at the same time, apparently. But go ahead, Kenzie.
Last thing on Qyburn for me is that he probably will do something with, because they're probably going to have a few people die, whether it's they all come into King's Landing and they end up dying, so there'll be some sort of thing for Qyburn to examine. But I do feel like with the white they had brought to King's Landing in the finale, they only burnt the hand, and then Jon just stabbed it with dragonglass. So he obviously probably had time to investigate how to do something with the White Walkers that he wasn't told about. But the next person we can talk about for a little bit is Euron, the only, I guess, a brother of Balon that they'll ever show us in the show. So, what do we think about Euron and his magical fleet making people?
I don't know. So he went to go get the Golden Company, right? And
yes.
I can see, like, I feel like it would be an opportunity for the Faceless Man to become involved. I know, oh no, Faceless Man conspiracy. But there is an opportunity there. I'm going off the rails here. But I see something happening between him and the leader of the Golden Company. And then possibly him trying to go to Dany's side. But I don't know, it could just be simpler than that. Euron's character isn't that complex in the show, so I could see him maybe have something to do with Cersei having a miscarriage. He wouldn't want her to have that baby if he's going to become king. It would make sense. I don't know if he would necessarily plot with Qyburn on this, and this is what gets Qyburn in trouble. And then you have the whole Cersei just basically tells the Mountain to kill Qyburn, and then we see what happens with that. That could be a whole situation there. But I could see him doing something because he wouldn't want her to have a child. What do you think about that? I don't think Euron would want that. He knows it would be Jaime's.
Yeah, he doesn't want. I don't think of him as wanting competition at all. He's in for it, and he doesn't. I don't think he would care about what happens with his lineage. He doesn't strike me as somebody who cares about what happens after him. He just wants stuff for him. He is him. Yep.
That could possibly be king before him. Cersei could just choose to marry him and have a boy baby, and then.
Oh yeah.
You have this whole. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, good point. Good point. I actually haven't thought about that one, but yeah, she can make the baby, especially if it's a son. That would be scary for the baby. He knows poisons, right? I'm not poisons, but he has something that he could use to try to get to Cersei. I don't see him as killing her because that would take away from Arya, and I want her to make her very much dead. Basically taking the life from her. So I don't want that to be given to Euron. For him, I don't see him surviving because if he survives, then somebody didn't do their job. For him, if he doesn't die because of something big, somebody should make like an oops, yeah, there's an extra one that you need to get rid of.
What if he becomes mangled like Theon? and is worse than death, has a fate worse than death. You just made me think of that.
Yeah, I think he would be strong enough. I shouldn't say strong enough, weak enough to end it. He wouldn't be strong enough to live like this. He would, if that that was his case, where he would have to live life not as he wanted it to be and had no control over it or no choice and chances of making it anything different, like anything physical would happen to him. I see him as just basically saying bye and taking a way out of there by basically dying, killing himself if he um, doesn't, get what he wants from life. But that is actually, I don't see that happening in general. Like, I don't see that for him to have to do that, to have to escape life, to go towards death. I see him dying. I don't want him to be alive. If he's alive, then that somebody must have missed the line in the script. As far as who kills him or how he dies, I see him dying with those crazy eyes, this crazy look on his face, not with fear, not with anything, but like meeting death, being defeated by something. But when that defeat happens, not to be like scared or like poor little finger begging for life, which was, yeah, let's not go there. I see him meeting death face on, like welcoming it because it's like an adventure, because he's crazy enough to do that. So whoever kills him, he's gonna enjoy dying. He won't be happy, but he will enjoy it. The actual thing happening, that this is excitement for him.
There was a question brought up on if Yara / Osha, or not Osha, Asha, would be pregnant in the show by, I think, JR. I don't know. Adding another pregnancy into the show would be very complicated and complex, especially if they mess up with the timelines. They'd all have to somewhat be at the same relative stage of pregnancy for them to have three newborns in the show. Would be really weird and really interesting. It's possible in the books if she's captured by Euron, but I don't think in the show she would have a baby with Euron.
I agree, Kenzie. I think she hasn't been shown with a lover besides making out with Ilaria Sand. So they would have showed some type of love interest or hinted at it if she was going to be pregnant. In my opinion.
Yeah, things could have happened after she was captured, but if they went with the book stuff, kind of, I see that as really, really terrifying. Like if she were to be pregnant and be killed while being pregnant by whoever did whatever to her, that would be very, very disturbing. And I don't know if George or the writers, if the directors, they want to go that way, like showing that kind of something happened to a pregnant woman. That would be kind of like a scene similar to how people reacted to Sansa being raped again or mistreated again. So I don't want to see that happen. There will be a lot of excitement from some people, not like a good like yay, but like it would be like, whoa, yeah, that kind of happened to somebody in a book somewhere. They're like, it's an Easter egg for something, but they can keep that Easter egg in a basket as far as I'm concerned.
My thought exactly. Like another pregnancy would just throw complete time out the window. Any more thoughts on Euron?
Yeah. Well, I just want to read Bubba Husky's comment because it's pretty funny. I hope Cersei's really pregnant and has complications. Franken Mountain thinks the baby's harming her and literally rips her from her body. Hashtag Hail Jamie.
Interesting fate for Cersei.
Very good insight.
Be a very interesting way for the Mountain, and I guess Cersei's demise as well, depending on how the Mountain rips the child out of Cersei. We can briefly touch on the Mountain. my opinion on the Mountain is that he's going to probably die by the Valonqar, whether it's his own brother or Arya. I don't know, but I feel like he's going to die because, or as some people say, not long for this world. Um, but he's going to enact some other form of revenge for Cersei before he meets his end. Whether it's finding somebody else to torture or doing something else, there's going to be some weird scene again with him before he ends up being killed. Yeah, that's my one quick thought on the Mountain. Unless anybody.
Can we talk about Bronn?
Yes, I was going to ask if anybody had a one thought on the Mountain before we moved on to Mom and Jamie.
So for Mountain, I mean, for him, everybody says, his brother and the lovely.
Sorry, JR, it ain't happening.
Yeah. So everybody, I guess, mostly a lot of people would like it, but I think it would be more like a mercy killing because he is dead, undead. He's not even. I don't even know what he is. He doesn't know what he is. So he's just doing whatever, however he's being controlled. We don't even know how he's being controlled. So bringing death is a mercy. This is like, imagine living forever and ever and ever and ever and having this body like mountain, like just not even eating, not even doing anything, not just being yourself. So I see whoever brings him that gift of death will bring him mercy. He doesn't deserve more mercy though. So that's the tricky part. Like, to give mercy to somebody who doesn't deserve it will take a lot of selfish, being selfish, selfless, not being selfish. So I wonder if that's going to be his brother who will deliver that, despite the fact that he was mistreated. We'll see. Maybe mercy will be for him. Maybe won't. Maybe he'll have to live this out and just stand there. I wonder, like, if he can be burned by fire, or who will actually bring that death to him. But I would like for his brother to do that, to kind of go beyond the hate and deliver that mercy to him.
I agree. Who we segue into now, Kenzie?
Whoever you want. I put them at the same piece.
Oh, okay.
Because they're traveling companions right now. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So.
I guess.
I got this crazy Bronn theory that, I don't know, it might not happen, but I see it being foreshadowed that he's going to be the one to take down Viserion. I think we are going to see the Dance with Dragon 2.0, but I don't think it's just going to be a straight-on dragon fight. There's going to be complications, and I believe that this is foreshadowed by Bronn shooting down Drogon, basically. Also, we know that I'm pretty sure they're still going to have the Scorpions at some point, and Did Dany burn that scorpion? Does anyone know?
Yeah,
anyone
I think
remember?
Drogon burnt it after.
Yeah.
Okay.
It exploded, I think, when the fire went through it, like it kind of fell into pieces from what I remember.
Well, I know Dany has had, not Dany, but Cersei has had a lot more made, right?
Probably had more made right afterwards.
Yeah. So I just see them, that's going to come into play at some point. Because we know that Cersei doesn't I don't think she plans on holding the Golden Company at King's Landing. Do you think she plans on just sitting there? Didn't seem like it to me. Or was she just going to wait it out? Is that what she said?
I don't like the Golden Company.
Yeah. When they get there, do you think she's going to attack? I don't know. This is kind of coming with my Bronn theory. I don't think, like, in the show, we're not going to find out if he's like a Rain or something, or a Tarback or something of that nature. Maybe in the books. In the show, it just doesn't seem they're going that deep into his character. It seems like he's going more to the side of actually being knightly instead of a sellsword. His story, in my opinion, is a sellsword becoming a knight in a sense. By him signifying like why he didn't grab the gold and him saving Jaime. He says it's for a castle and all this, but I think he actually likes Jaime. I think he actually liked Tyrion, and he is in it for the money in a sense. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, he's actually a good dude. That's what I like about Bronn, but I could possibly see him living. I'd say it's 50-50 with Bronn, but him living, I don't know if it would be that great a benefit. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think Bronn's making it out of this story. Well, not just because his character has kind of went downhill a little bit since, I guess, season 3, season 4, because that actor is very limited on who he can share scenes with, as he can't share a scene with Cersei because of it's in their contract. So he can only really share scenes with Podrick, Jaime, and Tyrion. So, and like a few other people, but that's like kind of stretching it a little bit. Bronn will be with Jaime for predominantly the rest of the season / until his death. There's probably gonna have a scene where he catches up to Jaime, whether it's in like the at the crossroads or something. But I do feel like Bronn may not get the castle that he wants, because he's always said, "I'm getting my castle. Pay me with my castle. Get my castle." Like that kind of thing. Like he may not get it, or he will end up getting it, but then not actually being able to use it and enjoy it like he thinks he does. Because he also told Jaime only Jaime gets to die because of Bronn. So it could be one of those things. It's like one of Bronn is not really like as important, I guess, to the story as Jaime is. But we can talk about Jaime in a second, unless Elamar has no other thoughts about Bronn.
Bronn is, yeah, he in the books, he is. I don't like him in the books. On the show, he's more
It is
witty.
funny what he named Lawless's baby, though. You gotta admit that's hilarious.
Yes, yeah, and that is funny. That is funny, but that was also very dangerous for the baby, because yeah, it's like he cares for the baby, but he names the baby the way he named it. What was it? Who was it? Is it Tyrion or Tywin? No, Tyrion. I forgot the name of the baby. I just know that he named it.
He named it Tyrion,
Tyrion.
and it was right after Tyrion killed Tywin.
Yes, that's
So
right. That's
Cersei
right.
was so pissed.
Hilarious,
Oh my
but
God.
that is such a dangerous move for
Joffrey.
the baby. Yeah. So I mean he's funny. Funny he is definitely, but yeah, he doesn't think about others, just about himself. I don't know if there's enough time for redemption. Everybody has a chance until they're gone. Then it's too late. But as long as they're breathing, there's still a little bit of chance to make up for stuff. So I'm not completely crossing him out, but I don't see that happening in the show as a big impact. They may try to portray it as redemption, but I don't know if it's gonna come like if we're gonna see it as redemption, if we're gonna buy into that story, if they're gonna develop it enough. I see him as surviving, but kind of getting basically not getting the castle. Like I see him as always wanting for something that he can't have for whatever reason. It would be interesting to see him with the castle, even the high garden. And when he was pointing to it, when Jaime said no, like you would not even know what to do or couldn't afford it. What if he gets that castle with this huge place where he's actually, either it's been spared by whatever has been spared the destruction, and he may be the owner of that castle that survived, and any twists are. I would like to see everything happening with him. I mean, like with any other character, but Yeah, so I'm actually not sure about him. I would be happy with different endings for him too.
So we could talk about Jamie for a little bit, and then I completely forgot. We kind of skipped over the Stark siblings, but we can talk about them last. So for Jamie, I have an interesting kind of theory about how, or not theory, it's like kind of was in my story, which I will go back to eventually, that Jamie ends up showing up in Winterfell at the very end of, I guess, the first episode. And uh, he just like basically kind of redeems himself in terms of being the king slayer, but for the right reasons. Like he's redeemed to being a good person, um, and he kind of saves John because, yeah. What do you guys think about Jamie? And then we can wrap up.
Jamie, I think it would be a pick if he would be the Kingslayer, the Queen, the Mad Queen Slayer, and actually Night King Slayer. Maybe working with somebody else on it. It would just kind of complete the stuff, but it's kind of too perfect. But it would sound really nice. Or maybe being either kind of the king, if there's a king, or who knows, maybe sitting on that throne himself. If there's a throne, there probably won't be a throne, but that would be so poetic. Where he actually first killed the king, he made his way all the way up there and sat down after being, tired after the battle, or not the battle, but being there all this time. He actually made an effort to go there. Um, yeah, so for him, big mystery, or maybe dying with Brienne, or along, or in her arms, because of him loving her. But then somebody mentioned at some point somewhere that he doesn't have to die young. He may die in his arms when he's old and gray and lived his whole life. So it's a big mystery, and this is something that I really am looking forward for George to, or George, whoever. At this point, we know how it's going to end. It should be the same for books and show. I want them to give us either good death or good life for him, but to make us very happy with his turnout, how he will turn out. Johnny and Mackenzie.
Well, I would just like to see Jamie use his karate chop action just one more time. I think it will be awesome, to use that hand G.I. Joe style. On a lighter note, honestly, it almost seems so obvious for him to kill Cersei that it doesn't make sense, but I feel like, yeah, I feel like they're gonna go that route. I do feel like he's gonna end up killing Cersei for some reason.
What about Cersei and Daenerys? I'm sorry, I'm like cutting you off, but like when I said Mad Queen, Cersei / Daenerys, whoever. Yep, just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I do have, Daenerys is on the cusp of becoming the Mad Queen. If, she's right there teeter-tottering. She could go either or at this point, in my opinion. So I agree. That could be a good, weird, fitting twist. And then, John casts judgment on him, sends him to the wall, blah, blah, blah. You get I don't know. It just that part seems cliche, but yeah, I could see that happening. But then I think Jamie's gonna die in the arms of the woman he loves, and it seems like it's gonna be Brienne, I guess, possibly on the battlefield. It just seems kind of foreshadowed, but it also could be Cersei, him killing Cersei, and then the Mountain killing him. Perhaps they survive, defeat the Night King, have to go to King's Landing, try to broker a peace. They know that Cersei's not going to give up. You have Arya and Jaime and someone else infiltrate, and then you have something happen. I don't know. I feel like John's somehow going to go down there and get locked up and do something John would do and get locked up in the black cells, but I don't know. I really don't know about Jamie. It just seems like whatever he's going to do is going to be so obvious that I hope they just throw me off with it. Does that make sense?
Yep. I want there to be some epic stuff happening, and I know there will be. I trust there will be. I don't want to think that I'm going to be disappointed, because if I'm going to think that, then yeah, that's going to be a long time waiting for disappointment. I'd rather wait and be happy about what's going to happen, and then just see what happens.
Yep. Kind of Jamie's kind of the most unpredictable of kind of the rest of them, because he moved away from the person of like that is his, I guess, leader being Cersei. But we have reached the 2-hour mark, and I know there's another stream after this one, so we are just going to do final thoughts and then our where we can find everybody, even though I think we all know where we can all find each other on the panel. But yeah, we can talk about the Stark children on another stream. We didn't get to them because I had
And Pod. We got to talk about Pod and
Brienne.
Hot Pie. We have a whole nother stream.
Yeah, we can talk about predominantly all of the team John, because John has more people on his team than I realized after going through this stream. But yeah, we can talk about more characters in a part 2 in the future. So whoever wants to go first in terms of sign off or final thoughts. And
I'll get mine out of the way real quick. I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you, Kenzie, for having me on your channel. It was a pleasure. I will come back anytime you ask. Don't worry. I am busy. This is my 4th live stream in 5 days. So, if you want me to live stream with you, just ask, and I'll pop up at a moment's notice and come out of nowhere. You can find me at Johnny Be Crazy. I'm doing all kinds of different content, everything from Westworld to Legion to Game of Thrones. I'm actually have a live stream coming up on the World of Ice and Fire. Certain subjects from that. I'm going to be doing a series on that. More streams with Kenzie, more streams with LMR on Mondays with Westworld. Just check us out. Subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of fun things.
Well said, Johnny, my co-host from Westworld Mondays. So yeah, you can find me on my channel, Living My Rhapsody, where I'm on Mondays with Johnny doing Westworld Season 1. We're on episode 7, I think, at this moment. We're going to be. And then Living Reviews. That's my other channel. I keep them too just because YouTube can be YouTubey, and we never know when something's going to be basically disappear on us. So if you like what you see from me, be sure to click on both in case, one disappears. But, we have a lot of friends here. We all know each other from different places, or one of the bigger places where Cameo has her chat on Hangout. So I'm looking forward to talking to you and chatting with you over there. And then thank you, Kenzie, for having me here. Johnny, thank you for being my co-host on Westworld and for being here as well. It's been so much fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one with you.
Well said. And you two are welcome anytime on my channel, as well as anybody in the chat, whoever wants to come on and talk Game of Thrones or any other subject matter. We can do that. And my next video, I'll just touch on it quickly before we wrap up. It's a good one. I kind of mentioned it in Bangers. It should be out this weekend or early next week. Look out for that one. But yeah, you know where to find me on here and in Bangers. And I wanted to thank everybody in the chat once again for this stream, and I will shut up now. So thank you and have a good Thursday. Bye, everyone.